guys, welcome back. So I wanted to give you a little introduction as to why PetSetJuliet came about. If you haven't figured it out by now, I'm an animal rescue freakazoid. But to be honest with you, it wasn't always like that for me. Back in the early 2000s, like 2005-ish, 6, I was really an up-and-coming broadcast journalist, on the upward swing. I had just moved to New York City, was working at what would end up being the #1 cable news channel. I was single. I was living the life, but I felt like I was missing something. So I got a puppy. Gomez, the Chihuahua, he was the runt of the litter, which completely appealed to me. From the day I took him home, he was just, perfection. I mean, I never had a problem. He was perfect. I mean, he was the perfect little lapdog. He was lapdog central. He was small. He was a little applehead. God, he was just an absolute dream. I took him everywhere with me. He would come on my shows and just everywhere. But as time went on, I became a lot busier, a lot more successful and a lot busier, and my hours became crazy. And just at that time, thank God, my mom moved up from Florida. She moved right down the block from me, like 100 yards away, which was great. So while I was at work, or if I was going to go out at night, because remember, I'm, in my 30s and I'm like, single, my mom would come and take Gomez to her house on occasion. But at that point, she was like, wait a second, this dog, I need one of these dogs. So she ended up adopting a little rescue puppy from Puerto Rico, a Chihuahua, and we named him Cheeto because he was like this big. He was this little bright yellow ball of adorableness, and he looked like a Cheeto, the cheese snack, which really sounds delicious right now. So not surprisingly, he and Gomez became best friends. And while I was at work, my mom would come get Gomez, and Cheeto would play with Gomez all day, and they would be at my mom's house. But eventually, Google this, things got a little rough for me professionally. And I ended up having to go back to working hours where I'd have to wake up at like 1:30 in the morning. And it was hard on me. It was hard on Gomez. I had to sleep all day. It was rough. So my mom and I came to a difficult decision. I needed to move closer to work. And I had to continue these hours, but we both felt like it was just not going to be the best life for Gomez. He and Cheeto were bonded. I was all over the place with my hours. And so we agreed that the best thing for Gomez, not me, but for Gomez, was to let my mom take him permanently. And even talking about this right now it's brutal. Getting that lump in my throat. Because the fact is I could have kept him, but he wouldn't have had the life that he had. He and Cheeto were living it up with my mom, who was not only retired at that time, but she's a dog freak. So, they were loving life. And I used to see them every day. So, we lived near each other, but then, I had to move again closer to the city. And so we didn't get to see each other every day, my mom and I. And as the years went on, I met my husband, we had to buy a house, but we couldn't afford one in the city or in Hoboken where my mom was. So we bought way out on Long Island. And my mom would bring the dogs out. She'd stay for a few days, even a few weeks, and she still does. And then a little over a year ago, while they were out visiting, Gomez, who is now at this point almost 16, it was like he went downhill. He had been sick, he had heart issues, but he went downhill fast. And we took him to the vet, my local vet here, hoping that our worst case scenario was not going to be confirmed. But unfortunately it was, and we walked out without him. It was like the worst. You guys know, it was the worst thing in the world. It was horrible. But the reason I'm telling you all of this is because I've always had a sense of guilt that I let him go. And even though I know it was for him, it still haunts me a lot. And especially ever since he passed away, every time I think about him, I start to lose it. So I'm trying to keep it together on this one. And I know a lot of you can completely get this. It's like, they are our children. He really was my child. And I've not felt right since he died until I started getting involved with this local rescue organization. They're called Proud Rescuers of Puerto Rico. And if you go to my website, PetSetJuliet.com, under the About section, you'll get a little more of the story about this group. But becoming friends with these women who literally have devoted their lives to saving animals. It has completely turned me into a different person. I'm awe-inspired by their devotion. And it's changed me in a way where I can't sleep sometimes because I've seen a picture or I've heard a story, about some suffering dog or some suffering cat. So in memory of Gomez and in hopes of maybe inspiring some of you, I launched PetSetJuliet.com. And I've launched this PetSetJuliet pet care service. And I'll tell you, I had a killer career, man. I achieved my childhood lifelong dream, which was to host my own national talk show. I mean, I was #1 in the ratings and all that business. I hit the top, and through, I guess the stars not quite aligning anymore, things have changed for me. Getting a job again in television or even radio has become, sadly, quite challenging. But I'll tell you, spending my days playing with and taking care of friends and local neighbors' dogs and cats is by far the most rewarding thing I have done. I go to sleep at night and I'm not stressing out about, Susie who's trying to get my job, or, oh my God, am I getting too old? These young chippies are nipping at my heels, or, God, I don't want to talk about politics or think about any of the school shootings or Putin and all that. These things are not at the top of my mind anymore. I go to sleep most nights feeling peaceful. I have a great marriage, finally. 2 wonderful puppies, my little fur babies. My family is healthy. No, I'm not making millions or even hundreds of thousands or even hundreds. But my life is filled with love and peace. And the worst thing I worry about is, yes, paying the bills sometimes, but also what's happening to that dog that was found a few days ago, abandoned and beaten in Smithtown. That's the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night. But I try to calm myself by thinking, if more and more of us have epiphanies like the one I had, imagine what we could do for all of these abandoned, starving, suffering creatures out there. That is what PetSetJuliet is about. And yes, I do know that Gomez and all my other childhood pets, Scooby, Lassie, the cat, Floozy, she was a Sheltie, Josh, Katie, Zoe, Murphy, they're all looking down from the other side of the Rainbow Bridge going, Mommy, that's right, good job. And that's what, again, this is all about. I hope that this has somehow inspired you. Thanks for watching.